So today, I think that most of presenters were talking about the network security, about CM, about log management, and so on. And due to that fact, I decided to slightly change the topic. So today I will be talking about the application security, and I'm pretty sure based on the discussion I had next to my booth with many of you, that this is, let's say, far behind your concentration, far behind your, let's say, the focus. So I put on the first slide this maybe provocative question that my mobile and web application is secure because I'm using the product portfolio that I will be presenting today. But what about yours? What about yours web application? How do you trust, how do you believe that your web application or mobile application will not be hacked, will not be used to be, let's say, stolen any data from your infrastructure? So this is what I would like to, let's say, convince you that it's a good to think about that, and we have a product portfolio that help you with this. So before I will start with, let's say, the product presentation, I will start with this high-level picture that demonstrate the typical way from the business idea of some requirements that coming from the business, typical some sales, customer service, and other internal customers or external customer. It consists of, let's say, the time when people are trying to sort this idea, to prioritize this idea. Then it's sent to IT development. They put some, let's say, evaluation, how much it costs in terms of development. Then there is the functional testing that these teams are responsible to verify whether this website or other application is working properly, and then send to feedback to business. Business will do some UAT or something like that. And when everything is working, it is sent to IT operations, and it's running and it's visible to external customer. And we have a lot of tools on that. It means from business idea for measurement of how do you successful in the testing. We have delivery management, for example. In the Microfocus, we have plenty of products like Octane. For the functional testing, you are able to get the errors, the mistakes that was done by developers. Everything is clear, and when it is sent to the IT operations, they are starting to use or running some application monitoring. Everything looks, let's say, that we have everything done. So why we are talking about application security? But this is the reason. But nobody during this, let's say, during this software delivery life cycle, think or focus on application security. Everyone is believed that, okay, we have some security department and they are taking care of the firewalls, networks, and who is connected to where, and whether this communication is opened or not, what port is open or what not. But at this example, you can see that there are two, let's say, examples what can happen. One on the left side is, I call it visible. It means that you realize immediately that something is happened. Some maybe bad guys are trying to reach your web domain. This is the example of DOS attack. And you can react, you can respond, you can fix it, you can, let's say, analyze how many of data you were stolen or something like that. But there are plenty of examples that these customers, these users, the customers, were under attack, and they discovered this information, let's say, the information after a while, after a long time. It means that they did not discovered that someone is getting the data. And the reason for that is that to getting these data through the web application is something what you do not discover by the standard CM or log management solution, by the, let's say, the standard techniques. So we have application security there. It's something what help you to to deal with this situation that someone is using just your web application, web browser, to getting inside your infrastructure and using, for example, there were made or mentioned the use case of breaches, the username and password, and then when this user has this username and password, they can deep dive in your infrastructure to get the data from database, to use some inappropriate way, for example, some SQL injection or something like that. And on that slide, I would like to just to point some interesting things. Maybe few decades ago, we started to, let's say, everything was really shrink. Users, application, and data were connected together and sitting mostly at the same, let's say, place. One server instance was sitting there. The users were connected by wire in the same building, and it was really easy to, let's say, to let it control and secure. But nowadays, we have, for example, software as a service. Everything is connected to, I don't know, Google Maps, and I don't know what other services your companies are using. We have also, let's say, the reason why we are leveraging usage of the big data, it means that we are sending these big mass of data outside of our perimeter. There are other triggers like bring your own device. We have mobile devices that are connected to your infrastructure. So it's changing a lot the style how we can secure our property. And there are two types of, let's say, the bad guys. One of them are sitting outside of your company. Definitely, this is something what we are in common talking mostly about. But there are also insiders. It means that you have a lot of, let's say, employees that are sitting and waiting for the, let's say, opportunity to get the data. And some of them, for example, selling the data for the money to other vendors or competitors. So you have to be prepared against these two let's say, hackers or attackers. So, as I mentioned, many of you are invested a lot of money in and typical, let's say, secure the perimeter, like firewalls, like DMZ, internal network security, network access control, host base, and something like this. That's fine. But as you see on that slide, this is the statistic that is 1 year old. 84% of data breaches were done through the application layer. It means that this is something what based on my personal, let's say, statistic, most of you are, let's say, forgetting on to focus on. So in case of the investment, there is a statistic 23-1. Investment is mostly regarding network security, regarding CM and log management, but just one of 23 investment the dollars to application security. And when you put the application security into the game, you will be much more secure in terms of to be secure against the data breaches or some vulnerabilities. So what we have as a Microfocus, what we can offer to you to be on the safe side in terms of application security. We called, there are some strange abbreviation like SAS, DAST. I will, let's say, answer these. We are offering to customer these two main methods that is being used by the experts. Static code analysis, it means that every single application that is up and running and you are responsible for the security of these applications, security of your infrastructure, is written by some developers. It means that they use some languages like C, Java, C#, and what else. So you can use the method that we are using in static code analysis, that there is a list of the possible maybe vulnerabilities within the code, and we can compare your code of your application done by your developers with this list of the vulnerabilities. And when there is any findings, these developers are notified that, hey, there is, I don't know, the application is pointing to developers, hey, there is some mistake in your development skills. You should not, I don't know, to resend username and password in the common form. It should be encrypted or hidden as a parameter or something like that. This is one of the approach that we are recommending to start with, to do static code analysis. It's not about, let's say, to control whether your developers are developing properly. It means that they comment all single lines. It's about to checking vulnerabilities of all of your code. It's not dependent on what language is being used. The other methods, it's dynamic application security testing. It's the abbreviation DAST. It is the test that is pretending, or how to say, to mimic what hackers are doing. It means when I maybe sorted the type of vulnerabilities that can be found on static code analysis, the same list of the, let's say, hacking activities, hacking style methods is behind the solution dynamic application security testing. And when the application is running on the testing or staging environment, you can, let's say, to navigate this application, to tell to this, let's say, application how deep, how long should to do these mimics to pretend that what hackers are doing. And based on that act, you can imagine it like automation, that someone is automatically clicking on every active link on your web page, every active item on your screen. And it's trying to use this active point on your application to do or practice some hacking activities. And based on this long run of this, let's say, exercise of the dynamic application testing, you will get the report, and there it is sorted by the importance of founded vulnerabilities, and you can send this report to your developers, and they can, let's say, act and respond to these findings. And this is just, let's say, the typical approach by many of people who are focusing on application security, but you have something more that could be interesting also for you. You can imagine that when we start to writing code as a developers, and you find some vulnerabilities, you fix it, then you put the code to be running, deployed on your testing environment, you run the dynamic application testing, everything is clear. And what about when this application is running on production? Do we have any solution for that? Yes, we have. We call it run or real-time application security. The product is called Application Defender. And what this product is doing, you can imagine that there is a web application server that is providing the services for your running application. You will put the agent, let's say, listening what's happened, what type of messages is coming across your web application. And there is also the rules engine that, let's say, listening what's happened. And when this rules engine matching with some inappropriate behavior from the web application, it can send to Application Defender server the notification, hey, there is something what is looking strange, looking suspicious. And Application Defender is the solution that helps you to decide what will you react to these findings. For example, the reaction can be that this user will be banned, or the user session will be closed, and the user has to be again to be authenticated to use of your web application. And you can see also the integration with the CM solution. So if Application Defender receive any notification that your web application is under attack, you can get also the, let's say, more longer message, more detailed information, who is connected to there, what, let's say, messages is or what data this application was provided, and you get this information in CM. That is the example of our product we are using for CM ESM ArcSight. So from when I started my presentation, I was talking about mobile application. This is something what, let's say, started to be used recently or maybe in the last few decades. So this is what we see, typical application that is asking me for username, password, and what is wrong on let's say, providing this information. Wrong is this, that all hackers are trying to use this application for using some methods how can get into your, let's say, the data set, into your, let's say, intellectual property that you have within your database. So there are plenty of examples like cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and other techniques that is still really popular. I think that the most popular is still the scripting and the injection in the code that is behind these active items on your application. So I will just try to a little bit deep dive into static application security. You can see that we are ready, and we are ready to help you when you are using more than 24 application development languages. There are some of examples. You can see on the, let's say, bottom side of the screen that typically application security manners or maybe techniques is being running automatically during your application lifecycle. It means that typically when developers are pushing or commit new type or new version of the code, it's automatically execute the application security testing, put back the notification into the IDE platform that is being used by the developers. I think that most of you could be familiar with the Eclipse or Visual Studio, and they got immediately the information into that IDE, and they can respond to that. There is also good to mention that it's not about, I don't know, this part of development is written in Java and this part is in .NET, and it has to be, let's say, tested individually or separately. It's going across these, let's say, type of languages that is being used for your web application. So you can see on the right side that it's going like the line of code is written. So this is just the example of what I mentioned. It is the example how it looks for the developers. And I forgot to mention that it's not only about the findings, like, okay, I made some mistake in terms of the vulnerabilities within my code. It's also about what Microfocus is invest in. We have, let's say, the catalog of these vulnerabilities. We sorted based on the, let's say, the style, what hackers are using. And you will get also the recommendation what you should change in your code. It's not about just the pointing finger, there is some mistake, and just try to find what you should do. So there is also the recommendation how to fix these problem. A little bit technology, how does it look? When I talk about 24 plus languages, every type of languages that is being used is translated into the normalized format. It's similar in comparison with, for example, ArcSight is normalized, or logs or events into the same format. It's the reason that the analysis that is behind that is doing still the same work, same binary is behind that. So after you normalize this code, it's analyzed and trying to find some vulnerabilities, and then you get the report, and the next phase is to doing an audit. It means that you can find some, let's say, false positives, some findings that you realize that it's a false positive. And we are also strong in that moment. We have a strong the team that is helping to our customer on 24 hours basis. So they can send the report to this team, and the team has the experts that can recommend what to do with these findings. We are also using the machine learning feature here. It means that we anonymize all data from the customer when the customer is willing to share with us the anonymized data, anonymized finding. And based on that, we can track, we can get the information that, okay, all customers are getting some vulnerabilities or findings around these type of vulnerabilities, but we definitely know that this vulnerability is, let's say, false positive. So we can send back to customer these type of findings you can omit, you can forget on. So, when we switch into dynamic, I just put the similar slide just to explain how works our product. 45 at Inspec is doing dynamic application security testing, and it's called crawl. It means that it's doing the similar, it's mimic what I am doing when I'm clicking into the application. I am clicking on some active links. I am changing the website or clicking on some tab. And as I said previously, you can decide as a security engineer, you can decide how well this crawling will be done. Whether it will be, let's say, doing just the manual clicking on some links and trying to pretend to do hacker activities, or whether you want to do all types of hacking activities on all of the active items on your web page. And you can imagine that it is about the weighting or balancing the speed and the correctness of the findings. So, next phase of what dynamic application security is doing is the auditing. I mentioned that we have a vulnerability database that we automatically updating, and we are responsible for that database. It's similar that you are familiar with the updates for your malware detection or for virus detection. It's pretty the same, but it's documented what you should do with these vulnerabilities. So this database is being used to populate the information to your code, what's happened there. And then is the same phase, just like a review or to get the chance to respond to that. This is just the example. How does it look from the GUI? It's let's say the screen when dynamic analysis is done. So you can see that it is sorted into the bars based on the importance. The report that you can get from that can be sent in PDF, XML, and other type of format. And much more, let's say, important is the integration, the openness of the solution. So you can imagine that developers are working namely with some, I don't know, quality center or other application that is dealing with defects. So the finding some vulnerabilities is the same like find some defects. Thank you. It's really hard to concentrate when lady is coming. So, I was talking mostly about two products, static code analysis and dynamic application security testing. And both of these products are mostly used on-premise. It means that you can install it on your own machine. The dynamic application security test, the web inspect, is typically being installed on the developer's machine, and they can exchange the information. There is also the server part of this solution that all of these findings are collected together in some databases, and there is a web GUI that providing you the information that you combine from all developers. But I also would like to, let's say, to mention that we have also the same solution that has just a different name. It's called Fortify Ondemand. And as you can, let's say, expect, it's a security as a service. It means that you do not need to install anything on your machine. everything is running somewhere in the cloud, and you can just to pay as you go for the usage of this solution. The benefit of this solution, I mean Fortify Ondemand, is not only that you do not need to install and to ask someone to prepare some infrastructure or some database for you. The benefit is that behind that solution is a group of experts that automatically, when you finish your test, doesn't matter whether it is static or dynamic, these experts are looking and analyze these findings and help you to sort, let's say, the misfindings away and let you concentrate. Concentrate on the main important things. We have also the marketplace, so you can. I did not mention how well we are integrated. In terms of development, maybe side of IT, you can see that we are able to get the code from the repositories. We are able to get the information and provide findings to Jira, ALM as a tool for test management. There is some examples for build servers and build tools. And also it's good to mention the integration with vulnerability management solution or CM. In terms of IDE, I mentioned Eclipse and forgot to mention IntelliJ, Xcode, other, let's say, the tools that can be popular within your team. So I believe that the papers or the marketing material that my colleague was passing to you are related mostly to Fortify Ondemand, but as I mentioned, it's valid also for the solution Fortify on-premise. So in case of any question, I will be more than happy to provide you more, maybe detailed information. My booth is next to this door, so don't be shy and stay there in case of any question in terms of any interest. Thank you for your time that you still got some power to listen my monologue and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Peter Kunstat, ladies and gentlemen.